and welcome back to Little Miss 20 Something with your host, Caitlin Sully. Guys, it's been a minute. I've just been trying to get back on a consistent schedule of like coming up with enough content that I'm going to be able to sustain consistency. I honestly wasn't even gonna podcast today. It just so happens that the weather is absolutely gorgeous right now, so I'm filming. Yeah, so I didn't plan on podcasting today, but something happened on my way back home from the gym that I've been wanting to talk about this for a while, especially since I just addressed it on my Instagram. But I didn't feel like it was the right time. I just felt like I knew when it would be the right time to talk about it, and I feel like today's that day. So what happened on my drive home from the gym? Well, I was just driving home, and all of a sudden I saw like a car, like a sports car to my right, and it the driver was like kind of trying to wave at me. So I look over, and he's a creep trying to like hit on me. So I was like, no, wasn't accepting that. Was like swerving, like getting pretty close to me. And it was really scary. And then I was like, no, screw you. Like, no, no, thank you. No, not interested. Was not getting the hint. And then he tries to get next to me. Luckily, I was able to get a lane over because there were 3 lanes at that point. And so there was like, we pulled up to a light, and there was like a van. So like, and it was like a mom. So she was kind of like letting me and my car go back and forth to hide from the man, because he kept like pulling up and going like reverse so he could like flag me down more. And then at the light, I was kind of going really slow, and he was like waiting for me. It was so creepy. And then as soon as like the van drove away, like he got into the lane right next to me. So like I'm on the outside lane, and he's right next to me. There's nothing I can get over and turn to. So I'm like literally trapped by this man trying to like get with me, and like I don't even know what he's trying to do. Like I made it clear I was not interested and didn't want anything to do with him. Like nothing. Like don't talk to me. I want nothing to do with you. Um and so I got my phone out, and I was like trying to get a picture of his plate, and then I was like, okay, I can't do that. Like I don't want to like hit something, like trying to get a pic of his plate, because he had pulled up in front of me at that point. Um but before he pulled up in front of me, like he finally like just like drove. So he was like swerving and being creepy, and I like at that point just like was ignoring him. Like I was just like, okay, eyes on the road, we're not gonna look over, we're not gonna like even give him the attention of being like, screw you. Like he probably got off on knowing it pissed me off. So I was like, no, we're not gonna give him any more of that. We're just gonna ignore him. And my neighbor's dogs are barking at me. But I was like, we're not going to give him any more of that attention. Like, he doesn't need it. He's clearly getting off on being a creep and getting rise out of creeping out women. So I was like, okay, ignoring him. Then he like sped up past me, like threw his can, and like it hit my car and like got stuff on my car. And then he like swerved, and he like saw that like I was behind him trying to get a pic of his license plate. Then he literally almost hit a car swerving 2 lanes over to get onto the highway, so I couldn't get a pic in time. Because I at that point I had put my phone down, but I was like, I put my recording on, and I was gonna try and say it to myself so I could call the cops, but I only got 4 letters, so that's not helpful. But yeah, I wanted to talk about that because I feel like it's a good opener to just bring up the conversation of sexual assault. So if you get triggered by that sort of stuff, maybe this isn't the episode for you. I will be talking about sexual assault and rape. So just, grape. Um, Trigger warning. But yeah, that was really scary. And unfortunately, like, that's not something like super crazy out of the ordinary to happen. I've been followed on the street. I've been, assaulted, raped, uh, just about anything that you can have assaulted. I feel like that's probably happened. I mean, it's irregular for girls to get groped at bars all the time. It happens to me or my friend, like every other time we go out. It's ridiculous. And I mean, like, you can get the guy kicked out of the bar, but like, it's not like he's going into a court case for casually assaulting you and probably four other girls at that bar. um it's just exhausting being a woman sometimes, because we think about so many things that like you shouldn't have to think about. I mean, I'm blessed enough to live in like a really safe neighborhood and like place. So I'm not worried that like anyone's gonna come and attack me, but it's also not dark out. I wouldn't be here if it was dark out, because that's horrifying, especially after today. Like, I'm gonna be very careful of everywhere I go that it's dimly lit. I already am. Um, I guess what I wanted to say, because I heard this really scary story. My mom told me after I told her about that. She said, like, a few weeks ago in our neighborhood, she saw some guy. He pulled over into our neighborhood, and like him and this girl were going at it and they were fighting, and he like was shoving her into the car. And luckily my mom was like standing out, like outside of her car, like staring at him and like making sure, like, you're being watched right now, like you can't be doing that stuff. Oh, my hair's getting in my mouth. But like, I feel like sexual assault's not talked about enough, and it's kind of scary to talk about because, I mean, I've posted some TikToks about it already, and one of my TikToks like blew up, and I did not expect to be received like that. Um, I got a lot of comments like, "You're asking for it. She deserved it because of what she was wearing." Like, how did you wear that and not expect that to happen? Um, just honestly, the worst possible things you could say to a victim were said to me. Um, and that was crazy, and it took me like a long time to process. I mean, like, the video went up like a couple years ago, so like I've moved on, and like, you're literally a person on the internet, you're probably doing that sort of thing. Like, if anything, like, that comment's just gonna be used in like a court case when someone brings a case against you. Um, but another thing too is like, I was asked like, why didn't you go to the cops? Like, why didn't you? Well, 2 out of 3 of my assaults, I did go to the cops. Um, the first time, I was my freshman year in college, and he lived in my dorm room, and just kind of going over that without going over it. Um, the first time it happened, I guess I'll start from the beginning. Even before it happened, I knew sexual assault was an issue, but I didn't know it was that big of an issue. I didn't know it was that common. I honestly was one of those people that thought like, oh, it would never happen to me, until it did. Until it did. And let me tell you, to the people saying like, oh, she deserved it based on what she was wearing, I was wearing a tank top with a flannel and jeans that didn't even have rips in it. There was a centimeter of skin of my stomach showing, and like, that's it. Like, that is a quite conservative outfit for like college party. Sorry, I'm shivering. It's getting kind of cold, and I didn't bring another jacket. Um, but I mean, honestly, I wouldn't be here if it weren't for some of the other guys in that like hallway. Um, it was actually one of my guy friends at the time that had assaulted me, and our other guy friends became aware of that. And shout out to, I don't know if they want to shout out, I'm not going to do it by name, but the two guys that helped me, um the two guys that helped me, I genuinely would not be here without you, because after that happened, like, I don't know what I would have done if it got any worse than it did. And I will forever be grateful for you and for stopping it as soon as you realized what was happening. And to the person that let me go into his dorm room and put on The Office, which is my favorite show, thank you, because that was like exactly what I needed, and you somehow knew that, and you were so comforting. Like, I could not fall asleep because I was so horrified, and you like stayed up checking on me all night, and I really appreciated that. And we already chatted about this like a month or two ago when I ran into you, but I really do appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. And to my two other guy friends, um, right after that, I mean, I always thought I was like, it was never gonna happen to me. It was always in my head that way. And that just clearly wasn't the case. But it really messed me up because I had that mindset going into it. So then you have all the things in your head, like, was it my fault? Like, did I do something? And then it's like, in no way, shape, or form was that my fault. Um, and my two other guy friends saved my life, honestly. I probably wouldn't be here without them. There was one day, it was right before we moved out, and a lot of people already had moved out at that point, and I was not well at all. And I was kind of ready just to kind of, I guess, do it. I had a bottle of pills, and I was ready, and they came knocking on my door. Um, and wow, I didn't expect to like get emotional telling that story. I've told it a lot. I wouldn't be here without you guys. So, to those three gentlemen that helped me, you know who you are. Thank you, because I don't know where I'd be without you. You guys are all like really amazing people, just individually. Aside from that, completely. Um, and I love you. And yeah, wow, did not expect that. I don't like get emotional about that sort of stuff. um, the sunset's beautiful right now. If you're with us via YouTube, I just showed that in the video. Wow, I like just did not expect to get emotional like that. Um, my sophomore year, I it happened again. Not my sophomore year, my junior year, it happened again. Um, and it was really bad, but luckily I blacked it out of my memory. Like, I can't remember a lot of it. My brain's protecting me from remembering that experience. But it's the reason I spoke out about my assault for the first time, like really spoke out about it. And I mean, it was an awful experience. but it led me in the direction of where I'm now, which is being a lot more open about my experience in hopes to raise awareness of the situation at hand. I mean, like 97% of the female population in America, I think it's America, not the world. In America, it has been sexually assaulted at some capacity or sexually harassed, which is horrible. 1 in 3, your mother, your sister, or your girlfriend has probably gotten assaulted. 1 of 3. And, or no, it's like 2 of 3. It's more than 2 of 3. Most people you know have been sexually assaulted, harassed at some point. Because every woman I know in my life has. I mean, it's actually astounding when I talk to women. Like, I remember it was my sophomore year. It was the beginning of the year, and it was like me and all the other girls on my floor. We were kind of sitting in a circle and just talking. And we started talking about sexual assault somehow. And I was horrified and astounded to learn that all but 2 girls in our group had been like assaulted, like not just like groped, like fully assaulted. And that's just horrifying. Like, more awareness needs to be brought to this issue because women are already doing everything we can to prevent it. Like, when I go out, girls I don't even know, I'm looking at their drinks, making sure they're good. If I see a drunk girl, I'm going to make sure she finds her friends because I'm not leaving her alone with the opportunity for someone to do something. I'm not giving them the chance. I'm just really getting cold right now. I'm so sorry. Okay. I just need to calm my breathing. I don't know where I was going with that, but I know now. I think men need to step it up. You might not be a part of the problem of the assaulting, but unfortunately, you probably know someone that is, even if you don't like know they are. Because it's your friends. Through all of my assaults, I guess, it doesn't matter who you are, you probably have a friend that assaults people, unfortunately. I mean, I did. My assaulter I was friends with. Like, you never know who it is. So see something, say something. If you see someone is behaving it, you have the power to stop something from happening. If you see a drunk girl and she looks incapacitated, like too incapacitated to give consent, say something. Speak up. And you don't want to live with the regret that you know someone got assaulted because you didn't do anything to prevent that. I mean, I see something, say something. I don't care if you're a woman, a man, a they, just a human. See something, say something. I don't care if you know the person or not. You could be saving a life because you don't know what's going to happen to them. My 3rd assault was the worst, and I'm going to kind of talk about this more because he's on Western's campus walking free because the cop said I, quote unquote, didn't have enough evidence. It was my word against his. And they said that before the grape kit even came back with the results, which is, it's just so exhausting to know that the cops don't care. There has to be like basically video and DNA evidence that happened, or you're not getting a case. and you're going to go through all the trouble and strain on your brain and just exhaustion from having to relive it and tell it time and time again to the point where it's just memorized. And right after it happens is awful. Like, having to relive one of the worst experiences of your life and tell it to someone that you don't know, and likely to a man that you don't really feel comfortable talking to that with, is not fun at all in the slightest. And I just don't think that the cops have set up a good system to address and actually get to the bottom of stopping sexual assault predators. I mean, the amount of frat guys I know that have sexually assaulted people and walk freely is ridiculous. I never hear about a frat guy getting prosecuted, because it doesn't happen, because either the cops don't believe us, we're too afraid because our reputation's going to be ruined, we're going to be told it was our fault, we're going to get harassed by men because we're coming out and saying our story, we're going to be called a liar. I got called a liar. I literally had this girl that lived on my floor come up to me at the bar and ask me how my sexual assaulter was doing, because she knew it would trigger me and it would piss me off, because who does that? How demented do you have to be to say that to somebody? I can't comprehend it. It doesn't make sense to me. But then again, I can't comprehend doing that to somebody, and she's an assaulter too. Women can assault people. Guys can get assaulted. That's not talked about enough either. Men get assaulted too, and it's even harder for them to come out, because everyone says all the stupid stuff they say about that. I don't care who you are, you can be assaulted. Terry Crews was assaulted. Terry Crews, and he's a giant muscular man that's like a giant bodybuilder. Anybody can get assaulted. Anybody. I don't care who you are, it can happen to you. And it didn't matter until it happened to me. And I think that needs to be changed. You never know when it's going to happen, because you never know who it's going to happen with. It could be your best friend. It hasn't happened to me with any of my best friends. I just want to make that very clear. I have all amazing best friends at this current time. I do have a story that I'm going to drop on the 20th episode about my ex-best friend, and I think it will be very entertaining to you all, but that's not for this episode. But I just want to reiterate, it can happen to anyone with anyone. You never know when it's going to happen to you. It's nobody's choice to get assaulted, because who would want to go through all that trauma? Literally no one. That's why it's called assault, guys. But see something, say something. I guess I can't stress that enough. And if you're I guess for me, a big way I cope with it is I make jokes. All my friends know this, because they're used to me goofing around making jokes, and they've gotten used to me making jokes about that topic as well. And if you're around someone that does that, just know that's them coping. It's okay to laugh with them, because it's more awkward if you don't. When I make a joke, because sometimes I be doing it. Oh, that's nice. My brother took out the trash for me. Thanks, Ryan. But if you know someone and you hear they made a joke about it, it's okay to laugh, because it's really awkward when you're making the joke and you're laughing at your own joke because you're coping and nobody's laughing with you. But also check on them. if you know someone that like recently got assaulted, check in on them because they're probably not doing great mentally, even if they don't want to admit it. Maybe just try and do some things nice for them, check in on them, and oh, I'm just trying to hit all the different things that I want to hit. Whoops, shoot, did I turn that off? It looks like it's still on, so I hope it's still recording. But I want to like cover all my bases, and I'm very like disoriented in the head because I didn't plan on talking about this, so I didn't have it like written out like I originally wanted to do. But if you are someone that went through that or are going through that recently, first of all, I'm so sorry that you had to experience that. And honestly, I don't care if I know you, if we've never talked, if you're literally from the internet and randomly found this video or found me online somewhere and you're watching this and you don't know what to do because it happened to you and you have all these feelings and thoughts and you don't really know how to process them because maybe you don't know anyone that's been assaulted because no one told you. I'm here if anyone ever needs to talk about that. I'm obviously pretty open about my situation, but I'm here for you if you need it and need someone to talk to. I want people to understand too that like it's not something you just get over. Like I will have PTSD for the rest of my life from my sexual assaults. They are and probably forever will be some of the worst moments of my entire life. I really can't explain how awful it feels for that to happen to you. Also, no, I'm gonna process one thought at a time. PTSD is very real. Please be aware of what you say and how it may trigger your friends or people you know. And I hate to be the one that says like, I'm triggered, but like I do get triggered from things, unfortunately for all of us. And it's not fun to deal with. Also, if you're like getting triggered and you're having a hard time snap out of it, something my therapist said is like cold water, pressure points like neck, wrist, like forehead, like mid abdomen if that's like accessible, sour candy to shock your system, breathing techniques, but that doesn't always help with triggering, but like ice or like cold water on pressure points and sour candy is really helpful for that kind of stuff. Also, if you witnessed at any capacity the before, middle, or aftermath of an assault and that survivor chooses to pursue things with the cop, have the common decency to go and talk to the cop because you don't know how it could help that case, and this is targeted at someone, and if they see this, I really don't care because you should have talked to the cop. I'll be really vague about who did it too. It was my ex. I went to his after my assault because I was very triggered and he was one person I knew I felt safe with and I knew wasn't going to do that to me. And I just wanted to be with someone that already